I'm going to give, and we've done 99 lessons, and this is the last from the lot. And I thought I'd really just end with some of my ideas on economics. Now, what you do know already is that I'm an environmentalist. Okay, so but I'm not really akin to really at times perhaps what the Green Party are saying, but this is what I'm to believe, and I believe if we followed this approach, then although it's very, very radical, that we would initiate the right sort of policies. But I like the Green Party because they're just much more radical and they're much more imaginative than the mainstream political parties. Okay, the first thing I'll definitely go for is fiscal sustainability. I think it's completely crazy to continuously run budget deficits. I mean, this year we've got a budget deficit of £100 billion, which is 6.4% of GDP. Now the government would say that if you cut G, then that would lead to another recession, and you've got to cut G slowly. And to a degree, I probably agree with that. And if you do it over time, then that's better. But I would probably go for it pretty quickly. And public sector as a percent of GDP, I'd have it falling, maybe 40%, maybe even less than that, because I believe the more decisions you allow for the private sector, the better. But I've got some pretty radical proposals in terms of the private sector. So fiscal sustainability, roughly the taxes, I believe they're sort of at the right sort of rate now. I probably wouldn't have them any lower. I don't think you're going to get much of a Laffer curve effect, apart from corporation tax. The next thing I'm a huge believer in, which is the other part of this equation, is intervention supply side. And here I would be prepared to print money to initiate reforms in these areas. So I'm all about increasing productive capacity and actually giving people jobs in certain areas. And I was really impressed. I was just reading this morning actually a book on social entrepreneurship, and this guy who started up a college called Barefoot College, and everyone says, oh no, this will never work, it's completely crazy. But it was based in India, and what he did was he just said, look, you know, the skills we need clean water, we need to use renewable energy, and so we need technicians for that, and we need to get better agricultural practices. And if we do all those things, so all the people are going to come here, the people who come here, they're going to learn those skills that they can immediately implement. So we're going to teach them those skills at a really young age. Whereas in the UK we say, no, we can't do that until we're 18 or 19. But I think it's really important that we give them the right skills. So that's what they do, and they train people up at a young age. So I'm into all of these things. So you do in fact create loads of jobs, and therefore people have got to be prepared to accept them, but not really, really low pay. I mean, if you're building a house, it's a pretty skilled job. If you're helping out on a railway line, there's lots of skilled areas in which you need to be able to work. Creating broadband, green infrastructure, research and development, all of these are highly skilled jobs, and I wish there was a movement towards that for a lot of people. So although the public sector is getting smaller, the sort of the free market sector, but the money will come in via printed money. So the money in a sense is coming in from the government. So a big fan of using quantitative easing. Obviously you can't use it too much, but we have printed £375 billion, but we've given it straight to the banking sector, and I think there's real weaknesses in terms of doing that. So a big fan of intervention supply side, and I'd also use it for paying off the national debt, and then we could use that money to invigorate our economy that we're saving through interest. And I believe if you did that over a very quick period of time, you'll get national debt down to 30 or 40% of GDP. Monetary policy, continue with low interest rates, continue with the idea of forward guidance. It's a really cool idea. Keep the exchange rate low or lowish to help our export sector. I wouldn't have it any lower than it is now, but I think I'd have it at a low level, because we need that in the UK because we're still running a trade deficit. Obviously that's not really up to the government. The government can't do that, but by having low interest rates, that is more likely to occur. Supply side reform, yep, big fan. Labour market flexibility, housing, less regulation. Big fan of just getting people into work, even if you're only earning, when you're young, even if you're only earning £2 or £3 an hour and you're learning an apprenticeship, I think that's absolutely fantastic. Get you out. The youth training scheme, which was around when I was around, where you paid 20 quid, but they got you a job and you did earn some money, but you learned your trade, whatever that is. Manufacturing, let's have the third industrial revolution. I am a green economist, so I believe we have to innovate our way out of this problem. So it's not about, for me, being green is actually really, really exciting because it's adopting 3D printing, automated factories. It's doing all of that, really breaking the bounds in terms of new areas and creating new ideas from there. So we have to shift our economy to investment and exports. We can't, well, we could probably continue for another 20 years, but we wouldn't be giving very much to our children and grandchildren. Less government, but stronger government. Okay, clearly in terms of the banking sector. 7 or 8 years ago, whenever you complain about the banking sector, you were just told to get lost because they're making so much money for the UK. In fact, at the end of the day, they did lose an enormous amount of money for the UK. So there's still an enormous amount of money floating around there. And what I'm really interested in is real jobs, real businesses for the real economy. So gone are the days of a quick fix. Right? If you want to run a business, you've got to work hard at it, and then that business will make money, which brings me on to the next one, which is the social entrepreneurship type models. I believe this is a new form of doing business, and we need to back these people up, and the best way you can back them up is once again reform the banking sector, to put more money into these areas. Okay, sorry about that. And finally, we're going to want global solutions to global problems, and the big one quite clearly is a lack of resources throughout the whole world. So I'm a big fan of putting solar panels all over the Sahara Desert, creating free energy, not in terms of infrastructure, which is going to cost enormous amounts of money, but once it's all been set up, you should be able to give free energy for those people who are receiving it. Particularly important in somewhere like Africa. If they get free energy, they're going to take off. They're not going to implode in terms of resources. Resources have always created conflict. So I'm a huge fan of renewable energy for that reason. And if we all used it, we'd all be on an even playing field. So, but we've got to try and prove, I'll have to go and try and prove these things. So as an economist and as an individual, I try and live via this model. And I hope that it works. Okay, I hope you've enjoyed the series. I'll also have like a speeded up version where I do 51 to 60, say, and I do that in one lecture. So I do 10 lectures then for the whole course, 1 to 100. And I also do a much slower version in terms of some central concepts that you really need to understand. But anyway, this is what I've created so far, 1 to 100, the whole A-level AQA syllabus. I hope you've enjoyed the series. Thank you very much.